Here from at the annual meeting here of the World Economic Forum in Davos. I would like to welcome all of you here in the room. I would also like to welcome all of you who are watching us online. We are here for a very, very important session on Eurasia. It's called A New Dawn for Eurasia. There has been a lot of happening in this space, however we define it. Obviously, there have been geopolitical shifts. There are shifts when it comes to the energy transformation. We have other shifts in the global economy, and Eurasia has become or has been more in the spotlight, I would say, as a result. And we have been at the World Economic Forum following this space quite actively. We had a session on it here last year, and we have some ongoing work on particularly the middle corridor, which has become so famous in recent years here at the forum. So this is really an update for us with distinguished leaders from different economies, for us to understand where we are with that connectivity between Europe and Asia, a very, very important trade route, very, very important, for example, energy route. My name is Mirek Dušek. I'm a managing director at the World Economic Forum, and I'm joined for this discussion by really an august panel, I have to say. Let me introduce you, Aleksandar Vučić, President of Serbia. Thank you for being here with us. Thank you. Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, a warm welcome to you. Madame Odile Françoise Renaud-Bassot, EBRD, you are the president there, a huge actor in the region. We have here Alibek Kuanterov, Minister of National Economy of Kazakhstan, a key economy in Central Asia, and on the middle corridor as well. And last but not least, Cenk Alper, Chief Executive Officer of Sabancı Holding in Turkey. Turkey, obviously, an important economy on this route too, but also your business is quite relevant here. So if I could start with you, Mr. President, Mr. Vučić, I never underestimate how important it is for people to just get an updated understanding of the economy. And so I've looked up the economy of Serbia, and maybe some of my data is even outdated, but just for everyone to know, the biggest economy in the Western Balkans is actually the 24th largest economy in Europe overall, about $10,000 per capita, GDP overall 64 billion, if I looked correctly, GDP.
68.5.
And also dynamism important, 2%, at least if I looked, I think with the October numbers, 2% predicted for 2023 growth, for 2024.
2.6. We have a flash assessment.
Excellent.
And 3.6, IMF predicted 3.5. We believe it is going to be 3.6 in 2024.
Perfect. So if I could, just the nuts and bolts of the Serbian economy at this point in time, but also I know that you have some upcoming announcements on the growth horizon for the next 5 years. So if you could also share with us some of those forward-looking pieces that you're working on in your government, and congratulations also on your on the election. So over to you.
Thank you very much. This is for me a topic of an utmost importance, because people, when we meet with European leaders, because all of us in Europe, we believe that we are the center of gravity, that we decide anyway on everything, but what is actually happening in the world is that the power, particularly economic power, is shifting towards Asia. And we need to understand that. We that actually are living and will always live in Europe and will always be a part of Europe. And this kind of connectivity or interconnectivity with Asian countries is of an utmost importance for us. First of all, it was a good decision to found this new institute, new European institute, and that's why I commend European leaders, which is European political community. At least twice a year we can discuss all these issues with my friend Iraqi Garibashvili, with our friends from Moldova, Ukraine, some other countries, Azerbaijan, which Armenia, which have never been presented in European institutions, and that means that we get to know much more about them, and they get to know much more about us. Number two, speaking about economy, I can brag myself, but it's not time for that, about results, and I'm always dissatisfied with any kind of results that we have accomplished so far, because I believe that we can do always much better and much bigger things for our people. But since 2012, 2013, we more than doubled our overall GDP from 32 billion to almost 69 billion. And yes, the countries of Western Balkans, Southeast Europe, they have a bigger growth rate than European Union. As you know, an estimated flash estimation for the growth of European Union countries is 0.6 this year, and for the next year, the last foreseen made by the World Bank is 0.9, and it's still this kind of assessments, estimations are still plunging, speaking about European Union, and our are a bit surging, not skyrocketing, but still surging, which is good for us, but it means that our economy is consistent, speaking about, let's say, FDIs. 60 to 64% of overall FDIs are coming from Europe, but more than 32, 33% are coming from Asia. It's China, it's Japan, it's South Korea. And now we need to steer in a proper way our boat, and to see how we can attract as much as we can to make smaller that gap between us and the most developed countries in Europe. At the same time, speaking about that middle route, middle corridor that you mentioned, it's becoming more and more important. And still, northern route is of an utmost importance, but middle route is becoming more and more important. And it's all about connectivity. And that's what we were doing, making these interconnectors between us and Bulgaria, always having big support of EBRD and EIB in all these projects. I believe that when we're going to do this interconnector, speaking about energy, connectivity with North Macedonia will also have big support of EBRD or EIB as well, because we'll have to connect ourselves to TAP and TANAP gas pipeline, but we also need to build an oil pipeline towards Hungary. Now we have the only one through Croatia to Serbia, Janaf. And these are all very important things, because, let me define this and then I'm finished. We have two big issues today, which are very much interconnected. One is geopolitics, another one is economy. Economy means life, but there is no life without resolving some geopolitical issues, because we easily are getting used to the war in Ukraine. There are no news from Ukraine, although there is a terrible war. Not a big news, whatever might happen today in Gaza, because, okay, some civilians are dying, people are dying, but we got used to that, unfortunately, of course. Something happened between Houthis, they started attacking big shipments coming through Red Sea Channel. Well, that was a big news for 7 days, not a big news anymore, but there is a problem. There is a big problem, because that is making a huge impact on all our economies. You saw the Maersk statement, a Danish company, you saw everything that was happening after that, because that will increase an overall expenses, operational expenses of all the companies in an entire Europe. That will also make a big impact on bigger cuts and deterioration of growth rate in the future in Europe as well. And this is, if you ask me, of the biggest interests of not Serbia, we are a small country, small place, speaking about number of inhabitants and territory as well, but speaking about an entire Europe, building all channels, all routes, all connectivity lines with Asia. This is of an utmost importance for us, although it doesn't look like that today. And yes, just to refer to your words, on Saturday we are going to present a big plan, and we hope that we'll have a great support from you, Madame Renaud-Bassot, from the other people, because we have had so far terrific experiences with EBRD. They have always been very helpful, but we took care of our public debt to GDP ratio. It's 51.4%, which is one of the lowest in Europe, yes, better than 90% of EU countries. We have always been taking care of that. We always were choosing the presence of IMF. Doesn't matter whether it was a precautionary arrangement or standby arrangement. Now we don't need their money. That's why it is just precautionary arrangement. But you need to have someone that will supervise, that will overview your public finances, which was good. That's why we are hoping to get EBRD on board to be helpful on energy connectivity issues, on because there is a big issue, and then I'm ending. It's let's say AI. Yesterday I was listening to President Macron. I come here to listen to people, and he was speaking about something that we have never discussed, which is AI issue. If we're going to use AI in our industries, technologies, and everything else, it'll mean much bigger consumption of electricity. Where are we going to find it? What we need to do? We need to build new hydropower plants. We need to reversibles. We need to do many, many things, and we need to invest hugely. And that's why we need them. That's why we need many other things. And also, once again, connectivity with all these countries, all kinds of connectivities, economic trade, transportational connectivity, energy resources connectivity, but also digital connectivity, AI, institutes and institutions connectivity, and everything else. Sorry that I took a lot of your time.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Very interesting, very informative as well. Thank you. If I could move to you, Prime Minister Garibashvili, also if you could just, the nuts and bolts of your economy right now. Again, I know a lot has been happening. You've had some records in trade turnover, for example. So help us just understand where Georgian economy is right now, where it's headed.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for organizing this very important panel. And I also want to join you in congratulating my dear friend, President Vučić, on his great victory. Georgia's economy right now is developing rapidly. In the last 3 years, Georgia's economy grew very fast, and right now we're one of the fastest developing economies in the world. 2 years ago, Georgia's economy grew by 10.5%. Also in 2022, 10.4%. Last year, 7%. Inflation is very low. Last 7 months, it was below 1%. This year, we expect to have more than 5% economic growth. This is a very conservative assessment. So therefore, it's a very good, stable situation. Politically, also, Georgia is very stable. And also, you mentioned trade, and everything is growing. Of course, we are expanding our trade connections and relationship. I also want to mention that FDI was also a record number last year. And so therefore, especially after the decision that was made in December that Georgia became an EU candidate country, we expect more FDIs to flow into Georgia. So, my dear colleague, President Vučić mentioned connectivity. Of course, Georgia, as you know, has a very important strategic location, and we're absolutely committed to the development of this so-called middle corridor, which is becoming a very interesting, attractive alternative route. 2 years ago, we signed a very important roadmap together with our colleagues from Kazakhstan and also from Azerbaijan. We have a very clear, let's say, plan how to develop this corridor, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and vice versa. So we know exactly what needs to be done. It means the expansion of ports capacity. It means modernization of our railways, airports, and et cetera, roads infrastructure. I'll share with you recent updates about these very important projects. So this year we want to start construction of a new port, new deep sea port in Anaklia in Georgia on the Black Sea. Also, the railway modernization is in progress, and this will be completed this year. And the capacity of the railroad in Georgia will be doubled, which will reach more than 48 million tons. We're also going to start the construction of a new airport, because we want to position ourselves as an aviation hub. And Georgia, because of its location, has full potential to develop itself, to position itself as an aviation hub as well. All the infrastructure projects, such as the road, East-West Highway, everything is going to be completed this year, and other important projects also will be completed in 2 years' time. So I also want to mention the importance of China's interest into this alternative route, so-called middle corridor. I had a very successful trip to China last year. I met with President Xi Jinping, and we decided to elevate our partnership to the strategic level. China's interest has been declared several months ago by President Xi regarding the middle corridor, and I think this will give more impetus and more energy to this, to the development of this corridor. So once again, I want to take this opportunity and publicly thank all the EU leaders who supported the historic decision to grant Georgia the candidate status. This is a huge achievement of our government, because since we came to power in 2012, we made enormous efforts and big progress on our EU integration path. Association agreement, free trade agreement, visa-free, and now this was culminated by this decision, and Georgia became EU candidate country. Also want to mention very briefly that Georgia's economy since 2012, since we came to power, doubled in US dollars. In the last 3 years only, Georgia's GDP in US dollars doubled in per capita wise, because in 2020 per capita US dollar in US dollars was $4,250, something like that.
More than 8.
And this year it will be $8,600 already. So therefore, this is a recent update about Georgia. So once again, thanks for giving me this opportunity to speak about our
very impressive. A lot is happening. Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. If I could go to you, Madame Renaud-Bassot, again, President, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. So I'm originally Czech. I remember how we were always watching the numbers that were coming out from EBRD when you were assessing our economy, because you have those two roles that you play. Of course, you are a bank, you are in co-investing, etc. But you're also providing analysis on the economic picture of the economies that you're working in. So if I could start with that, with your experience and how closely I know you're watching this region, if we can call it that, or this space, how do you think just overall these economies are prepared for this changing world economy that is out there? How would you assess the current state of economic affairs in these economies? And then we can also go to the middle corridor.
No, I think that as the two examples, first of all, thank you for inviting me to this panel. And indeed, for EBRD, the development of this region is very important, and we are investing in all the countries represented, participating to this panel. And we see the region as very strategic and dynamic in terms of growth. Of course, it depends from country to countries. Each country has challenges, opportunities, and so forth. So they are in different situations. But in the current geopolitical context, as it was outlined by President Vučić, the strategic importance of this region in linking Asia with Europe has been increasing very substantially. And we see appetite for reform in a number of countries, appetite for diversification, being more one of the strategic priority, I think, of all the countries is to be more involved, more active in global supply chain, and to benefit from the opportunities of the changes of the world economy, this reorganization of supply chain, for example, and the development of new opportunities in terms of investment, manufacturing, and so forth. I think the key issue of connectivity, which is at the core of this discussion today, is absolutely fundamental. Mm-hmm. I would say a few words on Middle Corridor. There is also an issue I would like to flag, which is the importance of the green transition and how this region can be a very important driver of the green transition for several reasons, because all these countries have a huge potential in terms of renewable, clean energy. They can become net exporter. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Some of them, Georgia is already fully, very highly relying on hydropower, but can go beyond in developing diversification in solar, wind, and so forth. And this green transition, a number of countries are also still very dependent on fossil fuel, coal, and so forth. Serbia, that's a big issue for Serbia. But I think embracing this transition and investing in accompanying this transition creates opportunity. Mm-hmm. To export to Europe, but also for the sake of the country. It will be a component of competitiveness because new FDI, new investors are looking now for clean energy in order to be able to, to sell with and to find customers looking for green products. And Europe is developing cross-border CBAM, carbon border adjustment mechanism. So all this is an important dimension of the investment we are doing. And what we see is all the countries defining ambitious targets, plan to facilitate investment in renewable, to invest in the grid, in countries level, but also the interconnection between countries. So that's one key priority for us, and we are working with all these countries in this field. Middle Corridor is for us also very important. We've done a big study with the support of the EU Commission on what are the different options and scenarios and so forth, and we are putting our money where our mouth is. We start investing in Kazakhstan, in the different countries on railway, ports, and what will be very important to be successful is to have a global approach, a consistent approach, and that, it's a big challenge because you have a number of countries which have to if you want to have a full corridor, you have to have all the bits and pieces working together. So this will require the appropriate governance and having a strategic vision. A lot of investment, physical infrastructure, but also a lot of soft connectivity, customs cooperation, simplification of the procedure at the frontiers, and so forth. So that's a huge endeavor, a lot of work, but I think it's very much needed, and we are fully committed to play our role in this respect.
Thank you so much. If I could go to a Minister of National Economy of Kazakhstan, Mr. Kuanterov. So obviously a pivotal economy in Central Asia. I was able to also be there with you at the Astana Forum. As I told you just before the panel, I was quite a detailed speech also from your president on the economy, very forward-looking. So again, nuts and bolts, where is Kazakhstan right now, but also what can we expect, and what are you really particularly investing in terms of future competitiveness?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished presidents, prime ministers, CEOs. Well, first of all, I will extend my gratitude for giving me a chance to participate at this meeting, and I think it's a very important and crucial topic for the whole region. Regarding the economic developments in our country, so we've been growing throughout 2023 for about 5%. We're expecting some additional data. And we had a record FDI inflow in 2022, which is of $28 billion, which was the record for the last 12 years. And we're also...
8 billion.
28 billion, yeah, FDI. And this year in 2020...
It's bigger than Spain.
And in 2023, we're expecting almost the same figures, though we actually target about 24, 25. The current geopolitical situation, of course, it had some repercussions with our economy, but our economy adapted, so to say, in the first 4 or 5 months, and our businesses, the government, though it was quite an unprecedented time. We are expecting FDI, and our FDI is just diversifying also. If, for example, at the beginning of 2000s, 75% of FDI came into the oil and gas and mineral sector. Now it's only 50%, and others go to renewables, others go to services and other sectors. Kazakhstan positions itself to be a food and energy hub, security hub, since we are also fully fulfilling ourselves with energy and food, we're also ready to export more and more, and our food especially is considered to be eco-friendly with almost zero GMOs, and we are attracting more investments in the agricultural sphere from the foreign side who are interested in importing Kazakh food, and especially meat, poultry, and others. And by the way, in 2023, Kazakhstan was ranked number 6 according to FDI intelligence in investment momentum. Our GDP in 2023 is $265 billion, and we plan to double the GDP by 2029 to at least 450 compared to 2022. But according to our estimation, we will come to $500 billion by 2023. So one of the diversification directions is, of course, the development of infrastructure, including the Trans-Caspian International transport route, which is the middle corridor, and we're investing quite a lot. So this corridor is an alternative corridor for our traditional routes, which yet are also of great importance for us. But at the same time, of course, we're also looking, being a landlocked country, we're also seeking different other directions to export our goods, and I proudly can say that with the help of our friends in Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey, we signed 2 roadmaps on the development of the middle corridor, and Mr. Garibashvili has already mentioned that. And proud to say that in 2023, the exports through the middle corridor, through the Caspian Sea, from our 2 ports, Aktau and Kurik, rose by 86% to up to 2.8 million tons. And in general, the 4 countries are expecting it to have the potential by 2025 to increase it up to 10 million tons, and including in these 2.8 million tons, 1.5 million tons of oil have been exported for the first time. And of course, this is not, and the infrastructure development is not only being done by ourselves. We have national and foreign investors. We are working very closely with international financial organizations, including the EBRD, and EBRD, I think, is playing a very crucial role, has been playing recently, especially due to some known reasons, and we are having a very strong strategic partnership, and Madam Maso will be discussing this soon in our bilateral meeting. From our side, we are also not only developing the Caspian part, but also the south part of Kazakhstan, for example, the Darbaza-Maktaral railroad, which connects Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan as well, since Uzbekistan is also, it's a double landlocked country, one of the 2, together with Liechtenstein, and a great transit of goods from China to Europe. So within this West Europe, West China corridor together, also connecting the Belt and Road Initiative has a very great potential with the whole economy growing, and after in a post-COVID war when China opened its borders, so it's just devouring all the goods from other countries. So the economy is is booming. And we're doing it together with the Singaporean PSA company, with Abu Dhabi Port and others. And we are also working with Turkish companies on managing our airports. So the best available technologies and experiences that could be provided to Kazakhstan, we're trying to use this, and of course we should do it simultaneously with our partners on the other side of the Caspian Sea, together with Georgia, with Azerbaijan, and I think we have very good understanding of what to do. And by the way, the end of March is the term for our three countries to finalize the transportation integration things, including digitalization. I think digitalization is one of the most important instruments and horizontal measures to develop almost every sphere of economy, especially in the infrastructure. And as Madame Basso mentioned, also we have to think about the green economy. And while doing this, of course, we are also thinking the carbon footprint. And Kazakhstan is the only country in Central Asian region to have developed the carbon neutrality strategy. Now we're working on the action plan by 2060, and we should keep in mind all of these trends, of course. We bought 2 oil tankers recently, and also planning to buy additional ones to export more oil. And of course, European companies are very much welcomed to participate in this work, especially East European countries, so from Black Sea going to Romania, Lithuania, Austria, Germany, and many other countries. And I think it's not only about the infrastructural transportation connectivity, it's also connecting people, connecting ideas, technologies, and in general, defragmenting the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will still try to do one more round that will be like a quick one. But before I do that, Mr. Alper, Chief Executive Officer, Sabancı Holding, Turkey. First, if I could ask, how do you view kind of the nuts and bolts of the Turkish economy? Obviously, a huge connector also in this tissue of Europe and Asia, a huge energy hub as well. And I could go on and on. There is also a lot of attention obviously being paid in the international community to some of the macroeconomic steps that are being taken. So how do you view it from the private sector perspective? Over to you.
Thank you very much, first of all, inviting me to such a privileged panel. Probably I am the only one in the panel commuting every single day from Asia to Europe, Europe to Asia.
Nice.
So that's why I value...
in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Yes. So I value the investments on infrastructure, and also I highly appreciate the value of having alternatives in my routes. Similar, I think, in this middle corridor discussions. Yes, Turkey is one of the G20 economies connecting Europe and Asia together, not just with transportation, multimodal transportation alternatives, but also with, we have 4 bridges between 2 countries. We have 2 tunnels, we have sea transportation, we have gas pipelines, we have grids connecting, and we have data lines connecting 2 continents together. Mm-hmm. So, and of course we have cultures connecting 2 continents together. So that's extremely important. As Sabancı Group, we are active in 3 different businesses, energy, financial services, banking, and also industrials, and we are active in 16 different countries. Mm-hmm. Worldwide. So we are procuring, we are selling more than 100 countries in the world. And today, pandemic has learned us that actually resilience of supply chains, having alternatives in those supply chains. Also now with all these net zero initiatives, actually the, GHG emissions of the supply chains are becoming more and more critical. So having alternatives to maritime, where right now if you see the attacks in Red Sea, is extremely critical actually for the resilience and confidence of the supply chains. These routes are extremely critical. We have to make these routes shorter, more efficient, and more connected. So I highly value the Middle Corridor initiative, and I believe Turkey is the main actor over there, connecting the continents with multimodal transportation, with its infrastructure investments. And if you look to Turkey economy, we are very well positioned actually in two continents with our highly educated, probably in the region we have the best educated workforce, and growth rate of alternative industries is extremely high in Turkey. And then, as you rightfully said, we are an energy hub and also transporter as Turkey. Especially green transition will play a critical role, not just with the potential of renewable of Turkey, but also producing green hydrogen and transporting this between the continents.
Thank you so much. So if I could now go a quick second round just for some quick reactions. And Mr. President, you mentioned also of the geostrategic picture and geoeconomic relations. Now there is a new growth agenda also from the EU. And you know the relationship very well. So how do you, from your standpoint, how do you see this new initiative from the EU toward the Western Balkans, and including your country? Is it enough? Is it the right thing to do? What is missing potentially?
Whenever you gather us from the Western Balkans, my great friend Iraqi Garibashvili was together with me on a Chatham House Rule panel last night, and you were present as well, Mirek, and you can always see that there is a combination speaking about people's relationship, people from the Western Balkans relationship towards European Union. One is always flattering EU officials, and on the other hand crying and complaining about lack of money. And this is not a case with Serbia. I don't do it, and I didn't do it last night. I never do it. Because I'm profoundly grateful to EU taxpayers for giving us whatever. Why would they do it? They have their own countries. But are they helpful? Yes, they're helpful. Many thanks for that. Can it be much more? Yes, it can. It can be less. But what I wanted to say, because I listened very carefully to these great people, what we don't see from Europe, because we believe that we are above the others from no reasons. But I'll tell you something. You heard Iraqi. Doesn't matter what will happen in a year, 2 or 5, about his political career, although I believe that he deserved to reign the country forever with his numbers. If you remember when Georgia was a big skyrocketing star on geopolitical sky of Europe and that part of a bit of Asia as well, what was the growth rate of Georgia at that time? Almost 0, 1, 1.5%. Today, nobody's speaking about these terrific results of Iraqi Garibashvili and Zomar Tokayev as well, and his government. Why? Because, well, we cannot brag ourselves of such results in Europe. And when you ask me what they can do regarding growth agenda, I'll have a meeting with Ursula von der Leyen within 2 hours. And I say, many thanks for everything you have done so far. If you can be helpful, good. But please help yourself as well, because we need, I'll tell you this in a very honest way, we need stronger Germany. We need, because when they cough, we got pneumonia. And when they contract minus 0.3%, then we have a problem. Otherwise, we would have plus 4.5, not plus 3.5 or whatever. These are the issues, which is important. But I wanted to add one more thing about Iraqi, let's say. You noticed one sentence. He said, okay, now we are pulling up our relationship with China on a strategic level. And he's going to face very soon the same type of questions which I was always facing. Why are you doing that? Are you closer to China or to European Union? He needs to work for the benefit of his country. He cannot work easily and successfully without having Chinese investments, without working very closely with them. And people in Europe, they need to understand that. And they will make bigger influence of European Union understanding that, not making pressure on him, on me, or on someone else, because I'm not going to deprive my country of 30% of Chinese investments. I have no right to do so. Do I have the right to do something against European 60 to 65%? No. And we'll never do it. And we'll always appreciate, we'll always respect it. But this is the only thing that we ask, to get this, to have this kind of freedom of choice to do whatever we can for our own countries, and that's it. And I believe if we'll be able to sustain that, then it's a good future ahead of us.
Thank you so much.
In our countries, at least.
Thank you. We have about...
But we can't do many things without EBRD. Madame Basso.
That's clear, that's clear.
I didn't want to make you angry.
So we have 5 minutes, so if you can give me quick reactions.
That's what I think.
Mr. Prime Minister, and that's why actually we did it. That's why we wanted to make sure at the beginning you can actually put the data out there about the economies.
Yeah, I admire them. Yeah, I envy them.
It's impressive.
Impressive.
So having said that, obviously, and we were, Mr. Prime Minister, we were at a panel together here last year. So that was more of a geostrategic conversation. But still, if I could ask you, if you don't mind, South Caucasus, the relationship with Azerbaijan, between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Georgia, of course, is a critical stakeholder there. I know you are. So how do you view it, if you can share? Many people are curious.
Well, regarding the security situation in the South Caucasus, first of all, of course, you remember the occupation of our sovereign territories. Russia still occupies 20% of our territories, and we had yesterday we discussed about this. 2008, when we had this war, after that war, Russia built military bases and still continues to occupy 20% of our territory. But regardless of this challenge, the security challenge, we managed to achieve an unprecedented and uninterrupted decade of peace and stability, which brought prosperity, economic growth to Georgia since we regained our independence. We've never experienced such a peaceful, stable situation in Georgia like now, like it is now. Regarding the neighboring countries with Azerbaijan and Armenia, we have a very close relationship and partnership with both countries. They're our brothers, they're our friends, and I did try 2 years ago to mediate or facilitate, and we did successfully the first mediation when Azerbaijan released 15 detainees and Armenia gave the maps for the mine territories to Azerbaijan. So this was a successful attempt, but it's a very complex situation. We understand there are many players in this region, and what I want to add to that is that I know that now the position of both leaders of Azerbaijan and Armenia is that they want to deal with each other on a bilateral level. Personally, I think this is the right way to do, because with all the stakeholders, with all the mediators, sometimes it becomes more conflicting and more, less counterproductive. So therefore, I wish them all the best. So I very much hope that they will find a solution, and they will soon sign the peace agreement.
Thank you so much. I'll go to Madame Ranabasso just to finish on the Kazakhstan, Central Asia. I remember that there is a lot still, and you mentioned it, Minister, a lot to be done in terms of also coordination, among the different countries, on all kinds of cross-border procedures, etc. Just curious, can we expect out of this momentum around the Middle Corridor and the work that we're doing on transportation links, etc., can we expect bigger integration? Can we expect some new partnerships among the Central Asian countries?
I think absolutely, yeah. There is a chance for that, and great opportunities, even without being in some framework of integrational framework, like in the customs union. We can do it together, as what we are doing together with Azerbaijan, with Georgia, and Turkey. So, and also Central Asian countries. So different countries in the region. We are with some of them in one union, in another union. There is also an organization of Turkic states. For example, where Turkey is also a participant. But I think even without formalizing some of these customs unions, so in general, it is for the best interests of each country. And I think, as Mr. President, you mentioned, every country, every government is responsible for its people, for its economy. So it must be not about being pro-Chinese or pro-Russian or pro-American something. It must be pro-Kazakh, pro-Serbian, pro-Georgian, etc. So it must be in the best interest of each country. And if the points merge, then we can find common solutions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so we have two more speakers. If I could go to you briefly. Private sector, let's finish on that note. Madame Renaud-Bassot, I know you are always having that in your view, how those investments that you're making are also then crowding in private sector. So what would be the things you would mention? We have business leaders here. I'm sure a lot are also watching. And the same then question also to Mr. Alper. Over to you.
No, I would say that there are a lot of opportunities, and you've heard about very positive stories about few countries in Eurasia, and I think that the strategic positioning of the region, the reform agenda embraced by the country leadership and so forth, creates a lot of opportunities to invest in these countries. We are supporting them. We are supporting infrastructure, but also financing directly private sector. For us, it's a key priority, and 75% of what we are doing is in the private sector. So, so we are confident that the country will develop and grow, and it's good to make business there.
Thank you. And Mr. Alper, what would be the things that would make you even more invested in the region?
Less political tensions, better cooperation and collaboration between the countries, and thanks to EBRD, but also I think we expect some incentives from all the countries so that we are more motivated to make investments in the region.
Excellent. Thank you. This concludes this session. Thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists.
Thank you.